Chantelle, thanks for being with us. A lot has happened since the press conference last Thursday. First off, we have the Ontario Solicitor General requesting the Ontario Civilian Police Commission investigate the Thunder Bay Police Chief, Deputy Chief, as well as the administration of the Thunder Bay Police Service. How significant is that?
Well, it's something we've been seeking, at least for Member Morisseau's complaints. So Member Morisseau's on the Police Services Board since last spring. And we made a request at that time, which was forwarded by the board to the Civilian Police Commission. We had copied the Solicitor General. It didn't seem to really go anywhere past a preliminary review, and we were very disturbed because the questions continued to be really about Member Morisseau and not the allegations, and we have some suspicions of why that is. So what we did in the fall, when Member Morisseau realized that the chief had commenced a criminal investigation against her for simply mentioning to another officer who they had continually said was guilty of leaking a text message from the courthouse insider, that she said to him, wow, they kept saying it was you, and I kept saying it wasn't you. And for that, the chief launched a criminal investigation into her for breach of trust with the board's knowledge, but not Member Morisseau's knowledge. So in the fall, when she realized that, she commenced a Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario complaint. Before that, several officers had come forward, and following that, several officers and civilians came forward to file complaints as well. So in December 2021, we renewed our request to the Solicitor General, calling it, as we did in our presser, a crisis in the police service and the Police Services Board, because the board had done nothing with all these allegations, not investigated, not suggested investigating, taken no interim steps regarding the leadership and ongoing threats and reprisals. And so we were very pleased this past Saturday to receive a letter directly from the Solicitor General for Ontario that she had called on the Ontario Civilian Police Commission to investigate the chief, the deputy chief. And when they say the administration of the service, that means the board. They've been directed to investigate both the leadership of the service and the board. And so, and her letter was very clear to me that it was in direct response to our request for an investigation. Now, I've heard today that the board is putting out a statement under Mayor Bill Morrow saying it was due to him. That's simply not true. I have the correspondence. It was directly in response to our request.
Well, both.
I'm not aware, actually. I'm sorry. I'll just say I'm not aware, actually, of any board request to OCPC to investigate any of the allegations in the complaints.
Both the board through Mayor Morrow and just recently the police chief as well have put out statements saying that they do welcome it and say that they had been reaching out for an investigation. You spoke about a lot of things.
I would find that hard to believe because the Police Association as well has stated publicly that they've been seeking an investigation and didn't get one. So I find that very difficult to believe that the leadership of the service was seeking one or the board. Yeah.
So the Police Association you mentioned there, which represents 350 officers and civilians, also calling for significant action. We mentioned Police Chief Silly Hoth has put out a number of statements in recent days. Yes. On the weekend, one that basically amounted to her saying she's not going anywhere. So what happens next?
Right. Well, unlike the Human Rights Tribunal process can give individual remedies to complainants for human dignity damages, pure losses of income, overtime opportunities, and impose human rights remedies. The Civilian Police Commission investigates for misconduct under the Police Services Act, and they have the authority to remove the chief, the deputy chief, any officer, and the board. So, you know, despite the clear alignment, pact, what have you, between the leadership of the service and the board members aside from Member Morse. So we expect both of those processes to go forward, and we would certainly be looking for, and have made it clear, we're looking for some interim leadership relief remedies to protect the complainants, and the potential of a criminal investigation into information we've referred on to the Attorney General's office, which has been referred to the OPP, to assess for need of investigation. And we feel some oversight needs to be imposed both in the service and at the board level while these matters progress, because in our view there's been retaliation and reprisals by the leadership of the service on officer complainants and witnesses to Member Morrisseau's complaint, and we filed a reprisal complaint against the individual members of the board, including the mayor and Chair Christian Oliver, for what we feel was clear reprisal on their part for Member Morrisseau filing a complaint. So that's what we're looking for in the next steps.
Chantelle, we're super over time here, but you mentioned interim leadership reliefs. Just quickly, are we talking about an interim chief, an interim board?
That's what we feel is required to allow for fair investigations by OCPC and to allow for fair adjudication of the allegations through the HRTO and any negotiations that may happen before then. Although we haven't been invited for one constructive civil sit down with the board regarding any of this at this time.
Chantelle, we'll have to leave there. Lots to talk about for sure. We'll be paying attention. Appreciate you taking some time for us.
Okay, thanks, Janice.